Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me again. I hope you can hear me okay. Great. So, my name is Steve Webb, and I am here today to talk to you a little bit about the future. And I'm not somebody that reads palms or reads cards. I'm talking to you about what you're about to get into your workforce, the next generation of workers. You may have seen me on some of these different networks. I've traveled across the country talking to communities, talking to families, talking to businesses about these recent tragedies that everybody has seen on media. I've had the great opportunity to be able to talk about this next generation of workers. I've had the great opportunity to hopefully help make sure that they are safe as they enter the world. But most importantly, I've been able to talk to people like you who are affecting change when they do enter your workforce in your workplace. So hopefully you can get something out of this presentation. So again, I am a police officer, but I'm also a 27-year school administrator. I'm a professor at a university, so I've got them before and after, if you will. But before we talk about the next generation, let's think about what we are as people and the value that we have as individuals. Because that's what we're talking about, individuals. You're not getting a herd of people with all the same skills. They have so many different experiences as they enter your doors. As a school administrator and a police officer, I patrol the school every day. And just last week, I walk around and I check doors and I talk to people, I talk to kids. I love getting hugs from my little kids. Well, I had one come up to me in the gym. She came up with her friend. She said, "Okay, I know you're Dr. Webb. I know you're Dr. Webb." She says, "But what do you do here?" That's a great question. Obviously, I can't tell her what I'm doing and when I'm patrolling and checking doors. So I told her, I'm the superintendent, which means I make sure that you have a great gym. We were in the gym at the time. You have a great school, classroom, you have great teachers. I make sure the lights are on, all the electricity is working, so you're comfortable in the school. And she smiled real big and gave me a hug, and she said, "Thank you. Now I know you're the janitor." Well, I took it because she thanked me for being the janitor. She was so happy that I was doing all those things for her. I, of course, didn't correct her. She's just a little first-grade girl. Think of the value in her eyes for what that janitor is doing to make sure that she is safe and secure in that building. That's a wonderful lesson on value. What each person brings to the table in terms of value and how you treat this next generation of employee. So think about this next generation. And I've got them both in a high school setting and in a college and university setting, and certainly in society's worst 10 minutes of their entire life as a police officer. So think about what we've got coming in terms of their experiences and what you're going to teach them or try to train them and give them more experiences that will help your bottom line, that will help your company. Now to think about this, I love this video. It's not completely accurate, but please pay attention.
Not really.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter, you know the big ones.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents. That's funny.
Well, Amy, when you're working for me, you have to have those kind of research skills because I'll send you things for you to comb through to get the answers and send them to you. So for that, you got to be really good at technology.
For stuff like that, no problem. I'll just ask Siri.
You're just ask Siri?
You know, Siri told me this, Siri find me that. We're all good at getting me big answers.
Tell Siri, I want you ready to go at 8 sharp each and every morning.
I don't understand
What don't you understand?
what you just said.
You don't understand
No. You said 8, right?
Yes.
8 like in the morning? 8?
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah. That kind of doesn't work for me. Who gets up at 8?
I do.
I stayed with my first boyfriend in Paris until like 3 in the morning. I don't even get to Starbucks until like 10, where I order my grande chai tea latte, 3 pumpkin milk, white water, 2% foam, extra hot but not too hot. So if it's okay, I work best in the morning at 10:45.
Wow. Amy, I don't think we're gonna be a good fit.
Why are you so negative? I can sense your hostilities, and right now I am not feeling very safe. I've been here for over 5 minutes, and the only nice thing you have said to me was nice resume, which I typed all night for this meeting with you. You've given me no guidance, no validation, no encouragement, no supervision. Is there an HR director somewhere?
HR director?
Yes, I need to speak to someone, and we have to take off today for mental health day.
Take the day off. Amy, look at me. You don't work here.
Are you firing me?
Okay, yes.
So, a great parody on the vast differences in what we as the old people, for the old people, and this new generation that's coming in and the experiences that they're bringing to us. So, what I would like to discuss with you is a little bit about why they are millennials or Gen Zers and what this means to your business, what this means to our country. So, right now, research suggests that 1 in 5 8-year-olds have a smartphone. 1 in 5 8-year-olds have their own smartphone with the ability to look up anything that they want. The ability to talk to Siri if they wanted to. Put that into perspective really quick. I'm a social media intelligence expert, so I can investigate cases that are brought through social media. And to do that, I had special training in all of these, what do you call them, whenever you take your screen and you make it look better? The filters, if you will. Anybody ever used a filter? Would you believe this is me? I hear laughter. I'm guessing that's a no. There's no filter out there that good, right? Well, no, actually, this is me. But what I was doing was I've used that picture as my profile picture for a new Snapchat that I set up as part of my training in social media to make sure I understood how simple it was to make it on these newer platforms, TikTok, Snapchat, certainly the older ones like Instagram. There are 2 billion users on Snapchat. 2 billion users. Put that into perspective. I just told you that wasn't me. Nobody in those 2 billion knows that. You're the first people that I've told certainly in a major conference. This is me when I was buying the burner phone. It is completely untraceable. You will never be able to trace that is me because I used the burner phone one time, and that was to set up this account. Put that into perspective. One time, threw it away. You'll never ever be able to trace me and know that young man that I stole his picture is not me. And I've used, of course, a different name. I used one of my kids' first name and one of my best friend's kid's last name to put together a persona for me. So in perspective, 52 years old, I was able to do this in about 15 minutes. Make a complete fake profile. Folks, this is what these newer people that are coming in, this new generation of kids deal with on a day-to-day basis, establishing relationships with electronic people. And they're trying to establish a relationship with a fake person that I created in 15 minutes at 52 years old. Just think, if I was somebody that was trying to commit some type of act against them, some type of violence, think about those types of experiences that they have. And now we're moving into the Gen Z era where they're coming in with even more experiences and even more things that they try to involve themselves in socially. And for the last year, we've had a pandemic. We've told them, you can't go out. You have to stay in your room. You have to be electronically connected by Zoom, GoToMeeting, whatever. We've told them that. And we've let them go home and work. And now we're going to ask them to come back into the workplace. How are you prepared to handle that type of mental stress when they enter there? So think about this. Think about the Gen Zers that are coming in, not only as your workers, but as your consumers, and what you're offering them. Now, certainly the interview was funny. It was a great parody on kids, but I've got 4 children myself. 2 of them in college, 1 in the workforce, 1 graduating high school this year. What kind of world do you want them to live in? So I've got a cousin who builds video games. He builds video games and builds training videos as well. And he was staying at my house one evening, and he said, I've got to work for a while. I said, well, who's your partners? Where do you work at? He said, well, tonight I'm going to work at your table. I said, okay, that's fine. Where are your other workers? He said, I've never met them in person. He's able to make a product and never meet in person the people that he works with. The same 4 people. There's a team of 5 that develops these videos. A team of 5. They've never met in person. But we still have to have the in-person caring. The in-person side of opening the doors and letting people into our companies, into our schools, into our churches. They're looking for reputation. They want to know if you've got a good reputation. How do you establish that culture to have a good reputation? It just doesn't establish itself. Culture is established by systemic means. We already now know through this survey last year, nearly 3/4 of the millennials that were surveyed in the Deloitte Global Millennial Survey said they're looking to make a positive impact somehow. They want something to be meaningful. They want something that they can be passionate about. What brings passion? Because their mental health is struggling. What brings me passion is the fact that you all can help them when they get to you. That we together can work on this to the point where it doesn't get to disaster. 34% increase in alcohol consumption. And granted, alcohol consumption, smoking, vaping, we're not even talking about the true seriousness of drug abuse, which is very serious. But I'm not talking necessarily about the illegal drugs that you buy off the street corner. I'm talking about prescribed drugs in our kids. 92% said it had a negative impact on their mental health. Think about this, 1 in 10 U.S. school-aged children. 1 in 10 school-aged children. 1 in 11 girls, 1 in 5 boys diagnosed with ADHD. 1 in 5 boys. And you know what they do when you have ADHD? They prescribe you a drug. That number is growing. So you're either going to get more than likely an amphetamine. Everybody recognizes where that word comes from, right? Right? You're going to get an amphetamine, methylphenidate. Think about the people who are walking in your door right now with those type of heavy narcotics in them. And clearly on each one of them, it could cause psychosis. Side effect, psychosis, separation of reality. Folks, these young people that are coming into your businesses, they separate themselves from reality very well. It's our jobs to bring them back to reality, to figure out how we can connect with them. The old ways of doing things are not going to work anymore because they can experience things so quickly and the trauma can stay with them so easily. Most of these millennials that are working for you now can remember 9/11, but they certainly can sear it and see all the devastation and destruction and understand just how vulnerable we truly are. This is a top workplace issue, folks, for our young people. A top workplace issue. Personal safety is the number one thing that millennials are looking for. The attacks, even the natural disasters that are occurring, of course the hurricane here at Pensacola alone is traumatizing to people, makes you feel very vulnerable. These are things you don't hide. You don't hide the fact that there were 12 people killed at Virginia Beach. over a disgruntled worker. You don't hide the fact that you just terminated somebody. You just terminated someone and they were extremely mad when they left. You don't hide the fact from people. Because when you hide facts, then you don't have all hands on deck, right? All hands on deck. So this personal safety that I'm talking about is a commitment. And so you've got me up here today because I'm a certified ALICE instructor, which is a response. It's a response mechanism. It's a run, hide, fight on steroids, if you will, right? Run, hide, fight on steroids. Everybody's heard of run, hide, fight. Run, hide, fight is a response. ALICE is a response. I get it. I'm an instructor. I'm also a radar instructor for law enforcement, where I teach them to go in by themselves without that diamond formation that you've heard so much about. Go in by themselves and learn how to sweep rooms until you mitigate the perpetrator. Terrible things, right? Terrible things to have to deal with. Terrible things to have to talk about. But those are the types of things that we do behind the scenes. I don't hide that fact from any of my employees. They know all of this. They know that all of my training deals with what happens if it's occurring. What I'm training people on is how to keep it from happening, how to prevent it, using that all hands on deck. So what can you do? Number one, make it readily available. 13 days. Research suggests 13 days you're going to be traumatized and you're going to be thinking about this. You're going to be looking at your workers. You're going to be looking at your kids differently. You're going to be wondering what kind of experiences they're having. You're going to be wondering if they're talking on Snapchat to some dude that's faked his Snapchat for some type of course, some type of training. You may even ask them, hey, do you have this guy on your Snapchat? Let me see your pictures. 13 days. And after that, you go back into routines. Make this training and security accessible for them at all times. They do a lot of their thinking after midnight. Make it consistent and sustainable. Sustainable means this one time having somebody come in and do this speech and traumatize everybody is not going to change your culture. It's not going to add that security. They're going to feel insecure if you're not constantly reminding them of your safety protocols and procedures. Remember that they can access the world within seconds on their phones. Number two, promote 24/7. We have almost 6,000 waking hours. 6,000 waking hours in a year. If we get 8 hours of sleep. Granted. I don't know anybody that does, but if you do, we have almost 6,000 hours. Of those, 2,000 hours are at your workplace. On average, in 50 weeks, 2,000 hours. Leaves almost 4,000 waking hours of traumatic experiences for our young people. Number one, gives them a sense of pride to know that you're there for their safety. But if you think about their safety outside of the workplace and give them the tools to be able to protect themselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they know you care about them. That's going to instill passion in your employees. It's going to instill passion in these millennials and Zers as they're coming into your workforce, because they want to know that you care about them at all times, that you care about their safety at all times. So what do you do for number three? The 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3 punch. Initiate it. Initiate the conversation. And you know why? Because they're already looking it up. They're looking at your reputation. They're looking at the people that work for you. They're analyzing every bit of that job to determine if that's where they want to be, if that's where they want to spend their time, if it's worth their time. They're already looking it up. If you don't talk about it, they will. If you don't make the narrative, those young people will. And we see it day in and day out. So bear with me here. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Surely we've all seen this before in some type of course. We all know that we got to eat. We got to be able to drink. We've got to be able to have rest. Our basic needs, safety, security is that other foundational area that we have to have. I get it. These are basic needs for us. But this is what the new generation looks at in terms of needs. This is what they're feeling in terms of needs. And when I say they're feeling, this is the world they grew up in. The world they grew up in. Our schools were designed in the early 1900s for herd mentality, that every 5-year-old ought to be able to learn the same thing that every 5-year-old has learned for thousands of years, right? But once they start getting into the digital age, they're all learning separately, no matter what kind of class you put them into. Then when they get to high school, they certainly can research anything that they want to at their fingertips. They don't retain information. So in order to get them to retain information, you have to constantly make it sustainable for these young people to understand. This is how they sustain themselves. Did anybody use Google Maps to get here? There was a lot of turns. Did you have to use it to get out? Did you not look around as you were driving? Oh, there you go. So it tells you when there's danger ahead. Tells you when there's danger ahead. That's what these young people use time and time again. But they don't understand the environment around them because they don't have to. They've got Google Maps telling them when the road's backed up, going down to the beach. They got Google Maps telling them when to turn, when not to turn. They're relying upon that. What if they didn't have it? Do you allow them to be on their personal devices at your work? Do you allow them that freedom to be secure in their own secure world? And that's the thing. Do we want to train them in their world, or do we want them to come train in our world? And that's what's losing this next generation of workers. We're trying to bring them into our world instead of going into their new world. The things that they see, the things that they can look up. Has anybody looked at TikTok lately? TikTok. One of the most widely popular small snippets of videos. They're laughing. They're looking at it right now. Right now. This TikTok gives you just a few seconds of information. And you can take those few seconds and run with it, right? I've seen TikToks where the moon is exploding. I've seen TikToks where this pandemic has caused zombies, right? Fun, entertainment. But I've also seen TikToks where there's 911 calls. One of the most recent ones was, I just shot my wife and my kids. I'll be on the porch waiting for you. Widely distributed. I just shot my wife and my kids. I'll be waiting on the porch for you. 911. He called 911 himself, and he committed suicide as soon as they got there. He wanted suicide by cop. That is going to our youngest of children. You don't think that traumatizes them? You don't think they're walking with baggage into your businesses? 2017, of course, due to all of these mass shootings, because we see every mass shooting, right? The national media shows us over and over again. OSHA put in that you've got to provide training. You've got to provide training to your workers, to your businesses, and you're liable. You're liable if you don't. Did you recognize the potential hazards? And certainly, did you understand how you could minimize those risks, those hazards? What do? How do you train them in their world? Or do you still train them in your world? I mean, what's easy? You've got 4 different ways, 4 fundamental ways of preventing violence. Notice I didn't say run, hide, fight was one of them, right? Preventing. Violence is a process. Violence is a product of interaction of any of these 3 items. And I'm not just talking about a mass shooter. We've got to get that out of our minds, people. We've got to get all these mass shootings out of our mind. I'm talking about the everyday violence that our young people are facing and their mental health walking into your business. Walking in every day. That's what leads to violence. So why aren't we addressing that? That's what leads to this issue that we're having now. Is this how we train? I mean, I get it. I've got my computer out. I have to do a certain amount of training videos to be a college professor. I teach at a couple different colleges as an adjunct, and all the times I have to take ethics training, sexual harassment training, all these online type trainings. Is this what matters? No, courts over and over again are saying there's got to be more than just that online. Yeah, I've read it, and you've done it one time. You do it, HR does it as soon as they walk in the building. Yeah, you got to have this training. 2017, OSHA requires it. Why not make it meaningful? Is this what you're training them to do? To jump under a desk? That's the hide part, in case you were wondering, on the old sexy run, hide, fight, right? That's the hide part. Get under a desk where there is absolutely no protection and no way for you to escape. That's a genius idea. If you have to run, hide, fight, it's too late. Then you're relying on us to come in, guns blazing. Run, hide, fight means it's too late. Now you have to rely on somebody else to come stop this situation when it could have been prevented over and over again. Aurora, Illinois, there were signs. He even told them he was going to kill everybody there if they fired him. He told his co-workers. They saw the violence. Virginia Beach, they saw the violence. They had interaction with this person. Nobody thought that those were precursors to what occurred in those instances. 6 people were killed in Aurora, by the way. If you have to run, hide, fight, it's too late. You need training on everybody's ability to help. 100 eyes. 100 eyes is better than one. How do you get that tech? By a Zoom meeting? I mean, I'm doing a training now through this Zoom as part of the hybrid training because you can't just sit there and lecture to somebody. We've seen this over and over again. Courts have decided you've got to have on-site training. You've got to teach them how to work together when you're not there. You can't rely on a police officer to do this. You have to rely on your new generation of people that are coming in that are concerned about this. Give them the tools. Empower them to help their own cause. Empower them. Find out why you're not hearing about these types of things. Find out why they're not comfortable talking to you about their other 4,000 waking hours of what they do. Why aren't they comfortable talking to you? We're in development right now of an app that would allow them to have anonymous tips to you. If you're interested in anonymous tips, get a hold of me. I've got a company that's willing to do it right now and has counseling on the other end of it. They'll provide counseling if you've got somebody that is having that depression. A press of a button and they can get there. You offer that, just think about this. Think about what it would look like if you had your CARES line. And all they had to do was press a button and they would find a counselor. And you don't have, your bosses don't ever know about it. CARES line, because somebody cares about them. That's what they're looking for. This entire process is about preventing. Run, hide, fight is too late. These are the things that you learn when you're trying to prevent an event. Probably the most important of all of these things, and you know you're going to be able to Google all of this stuff, right? You're going to be able to Google every one of these with stressors that lead to violence. Communication tactics may be the number one. Communication. This new generation doesn't communicate face to face. You've probably already seen that. They like to communicate through technology. They're having difficulty communicating face to face. While that first video might have been funny and a parody, it's in fact true. We're struggling with this all across schools of America. I'm on the national board for school administrators. We're struggling with this all across America because a lot of schools are going to technology devices to communicate between the teacher and the kids now. in a world that's quickly changing, taking risks, doing something different. What is your difference? And how do you know? Now, I'm not going to play this whole video, but I want this to remain in your minds real quick. This is a simple video that this child put out on YouTube for everybody to see. And she tells the story with these cards. This young lady's name is Amanda Todd. When I wrote the book, Education in a Violent World, I wanted to write it for Amanda so she could have a voice, because this was her voice telling you her story. Amanda, very pretty young 16-year-old girl, she took a picture of herself nude, sent it to her boyfriend. Picture nude, sent it to her boyfriend. They broke up. What happens across the world? The picture made it out onto the internet. This girl couldn't escape it. She tried 3 different communities. Picture your people trying 3 different jobs, trying to escape something. And in all 3 areas, it followed her. It followed her through technology. It followed her like a virus. This is Amanda Todd. Don't forget her name. Because Amanda Todd is the reason why we need to start thinking about this next generation of people and their other 4,000 hours of what they're dealing with. 3 different communities, 3 different schools, and 2 weeks after this video, she killed herself because she could not escape this virus. You've heard of the pandemic that we're in every single day on the news. Where is this virus in what we do? That's the true virus. This depression and this world that they're living in is different. It's very different. There's no way she should have had to try to escape that and get no help from anybody. She got ridiculed. She got abused at every single community that she went to because that virus, that picture that she took, that one decision that this young person made killed her. It killed her. Never forget her name, because that should have never happened. Somebody should have had an idea of what was going on. Somebody should have been able to see it and notify somebody who cared. Are you that somebody? Are you that somebody? So if you truly think you're ready for this next generation of workers, ask yourself, are you the one that's going to be able to save Amanda Todd? Lastly, as I conclude, I was off duty, getting ready to go on duty. I get a phone call from one of my employees. You see, we had a fugitive that had been a fugitive for 2 nights, escaped from custody off of the interstate, which is very close to my house. Got a call from this employee. Said, "Steve, are you on your way?" I said, "Yeah, I'm almost in the truck now. What's up?" She said, I think I see him. I think you see who? The guy you put out. The picture you pushed out of this fugitive to all of us at the school, I think I see him. I said, "Where's he at?" And she told me. I jumped in my personal vehicle. I took off, called dispatch, told them to dispatch cars to help me. We think we've got him. And I get there, and sure enough, I see an individual walking through a field, and I knew this field. I had hunted that field before. So I just took off with my truck up in that field. I didn't have my vest. I didn't have anything with me. It was all at the school. And as soon as he saw me coming, he of course started running. And so I jumped out and ran after him. And now I'm telling you, because there's no video of it, I was gaining on him. No matter what anybody else tells you, I was gaining. He was a young guy. He'd actually snuck into a guy's barn and got into his pontoon boat under a cover. It was November. Hell, it was cold. So if anybody asks, I was gaining. And all of a sudden, one of the squads pulled up that we had called, and we were able to box him in, and we apprehended him. Because I took the time to involve our employees with a community situation. I wanted to involve them in something that was going on around them, not only for their personal protection, because that was exactly my reason. I wanted them to know he was out there. 100 eyes are better than one. And in that instance, we were able to catch him. Now, 3 days later, I had a heart attack. 49 years old. I had to get a couple of stents put in me. But I was gaining, and I didn't feel anything that day. So please carry my story to anybody that asks. There's only about 4 people that saw me. I had a heart attack. What would have happened? Where would we have been with this individual if he would have been able to attack somebody? See, this guy was a pedophile. He was a fugitive because he was on a sexual predator list. And he didn't sign up when he moved to Illinois, and they caught him in a traffic stop, then he took off. You see, I didn't tell you that first, because it automatically brings our passion out. Oh, yeah, that's great. I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you why he was a fugitive. Would that have made a difference in what you tell your staff, of what you tell your people? Folks, everybody's heard John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. I adhere to that, but I also adhere to John 12:35. If you want to look it up, it is my favorite, and I think about it every day. Walk while you have the light, lest darkness befalls you. You keep people in the dark, they don't know where they're going. They don't have Google Maps to go there. We have to all work together. 100 eyes is better than one. If you need me, I'm over in this booth. You can get my card. I travel all over the country talking to people about this next generation and needing your help, not just from the K-12 or the college side of what we do, but we need your help to make sure that this next workforce is mentally ready to enter society. We can't do it by ourselves at the school level. This is something that we've all got to be on board about, and I need your help. I need everybody's eyes on deck. My name's Steve Webb. You can get a hold of me at drstevewebb.com, drstevwebb.com. If you couldn't see that, call my 800 number. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate meeting each and every one of you.